podcast is a member of WildGamesProductions.com and DetroitRadio.com. They came from the game table, dice bags in hand.
We have one brain that we share between us.
To talk about role-playing for all across the land.
How'd you like it?
The original, then basic, then one they scoured.
Kinda grabs you by the boo-boo, don't it?
To bring AD&D to the second power.
You want me to put the hammer down?
Welcome to THACO's Hammer, the best damn AD&D 2nd edition podcast ever.
D&D, whatever. D&D, I don't care. D&D would be nice. Hiya, folks. THACO's Hammer. What number is this?
This would be 77.
77. Oh, my goodness. How time flies. Yeah, I'm DM Glen. We have DM Brian here.
Hey, folks, what's going on?
Hey, you sound so like, hide your daughters, you know.
You have no idea. You have no idea.
And DM Full-On Gamer.
Greetings, Gamer Nation. You don't have to hide your daughters from me. Just make sure they have dice.
Yeah, but he's in the Army, you know. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the Navy. Excuse me. Please.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. And today we're going to do an all-email show because
And voicemail.
because Glenn, Brian, and Fallon are really happy. Emphasis on Glenn.
You're happy enough for the three of us, Glenn.
Emphasis on Glenn. We'll let you figure out why. Anyway, let's go to Hits and Grits.
What are you doing tonight? I don't know. What are you doing tonight? The burlesque, Louis' Paradise, miserable and lonely and stupid. What am I, crazy or something? I got something good here. What am I hanging around with you guys for?
Hits and Crits.
Hits and Grits, which will be most of the show. We've got emails and voicemails. Joy, just like the last show. Isn't that wonderful?
Happy.
And how can you contribute to our emails and voicemails?
How's that? Oh, it's you sent to THACO'sHammer@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a phone number floating out there somewhere.
Yes, there is. You want to take it, Full-On?
Oh, hell no. I better remember my number.
His number is 405-806-0555.
I can see that. I got a question. Who the hell is this?
Exactly.
Yeah. So what you guys been doing in gaming? Anything at all? Brian, anybody?
Well, the last gaming I've done was when we did session 9 of Hammers of the Duchy, which I'm going to try to get out by the end of next week. I probably would have. I was going to go see. Yeah. Hey, stop that! Behave yourself. I was going to go see Thor 2 tonight, but we had a emergency, and that didn't come about. So that's why I'm home right now.
I want to see that Thor 2 Electric Ragnarok.
Electric Ragnarok? What?
Yeah, Electric Ragnarok. How about you, Full-On? How's the Army treating you?
Well, it's been going well. We had a wonderful time when I executed the bacon-wrapped turkey, 22 pounds of awesome sauce goodness for the unit's holiday party. And then I got to do a little bit of Car Wars LARPing by verifying the ability to ride motorcycles on ice and snow this week.
Wow. Did any of your troops game?
No.
Oh, man.
Some of them online game. I got a few of them that were also in the Old Republic. And the Old Republic launched Galactic Starfighter with marginally better success than the Obamacare launch. But, of course, software rollout, it had glitches and hiccups, but it's stabilizing rapidly.
Any site would be better than the Obamacare launch.
No kidding, jeez. Talk about it.
Well, let's see. I'm sitting here. I've been snowed in. We've canceled 2 performances of the show, and I'm eating a apple turnover. And I just got sent from Mike Badalato, Bad Mike, 3 Tunnels and Trolls modules. 1 solo, 2 GM modules. I just finished reading Rat on a Stick, and it's not a bad dungeon, really, in the Tegel Manor Funhouse dungeon type of thing. Your tolerance for puns has to be high.
I'm out.
But yeah, they
That automatically disqualifies me.
well, let me put it this way. I think at the 7th level, they had a room full of like moss in the corners and had all these rolling stones around.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that kind of pun.
That's painful.
Yes, it is. I'm kind of snowed in. I kind of wish there was some people to play some stuff here, but I could probably go on Skype or something like that, or Google Plus Hangouts. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And find a game if I really wanted to, but I'm feeling too
Didn't
good.
you find one, Glenn?
Not that I know of.
Well, didn't you tell me that you found a little RC game?
No.
Oh, I could have sworn you did.
No, I didn't. I haven't trolled for that yet. I did find an RC group on Google Plus. And
yeah, that's what I meant.
Oh, yeah. I found an RC group on Google Plus, and I gave them my RC DM screen, which is large print for older people like me. Actually, right now it's older and inebriated people like me, but
hey, at least you're honest about it.
Hey, well, I had to let it out sometime,
It's not like anybody can tell.
Yes. Anyway, that's what I've been doing. So why don't we just get into the emails? Let's start a ruckus here.
Okay. Let's start a ruckus. What is the description of the said ruckus? Anyway. Okay. Let's see. Let me see. Whoops. This is... Okay. All right, I've got one here. This is from Scott Smith. And he says, greetings, THACO Hammerites.
Hi, Scott.
Yep, hello, Scott. This is DM Scott, a.k.a. Cryptic Horror on the forums. First, I want to congratulate you on the great show. I started listening about a month ago and have already managed to use work hours to completely catch up on back episodes. Now, that's how you do it.
That's what you use work hours for, yes.
Exactly. Yeah. And that way you can listen to THACO's Hammer and get paid for it. All right. He says, I love the content and thoughtful discussions you bring in each and every episode. On to the point of my email. I've been DMing second edition since I was in 6th grade, around 1993, and it's always been my favorite system. While I took a few breaks here and there to play a little 3.5 Pathfinder and 4th edition, not by choice, but because those are the only gaming groups available, I finally found a group that is willing to take a step back to a better and simpler time and learn the ways of the almighty THACO. Right on. They are all brand new to second edition, but they seem to love it. We've been going strong for 5 to 6 months now, and I don't see an end in sight for anyone. Regardless, I'm constantly brainstorming, trying to come up with fun and exciting adventures and directions to take my campaign in. I think at the moment, my strongest inkling is to somehow work the whole Vecna/Cass story into the game. While I'm perfectly comfortable writing my own adventures for this, I was also considering using and modifying either Vecna Returns or Die Vecna Die. I have no experience with either, and I was wondering if you could give a bit of review of them. How about that? If you don't want to devote an entire section of the show to it, just getting your 2 cents in worth would be fine. Basically, I want to know 2 things. One, are either of them worth running, or am I better off scrapping them and writing my own adventure? 2, would they both be compatible in the same campaign, or is there too much contradiction and or redundancy between the 2? Thanks in advance for the response, and thanks also for the great show. Looking forward to many, many episodes to come. DM Scott.
Okay, then.
Yep.
Well,
see, that's
thank
the end
you,
of the email.
Scott.
Mm-hmm. Well, we actually do, believe it or not, Scott, we do have a Vecna show in the pipe. I think that's around 80 or 81. Let me just look at the list real quick, and I'll confirm that. Yeah, that's funny. We actually have it for Splatbook 79. So we have one after this, then after that, that's what we have planned. So
highlighted will be the hand, the eye, the head, and the junk of Vecna.
I want to see what the junk of
That's an
Vecna
artifact
is.
I don't want to have anything to do with.
I want to see what that
There's a
is.
movie you need to call. Okay, you need to watch Urotsudochi, Legend of the Overfiend. It is not safe for work. It is not safe for work. It is not safe for for home.
Not even close.
Yeah, if you have curiosities about the junk of Vecna, watch Orochidoshi, and then just leave the dangling tidbit out there, and someone silly is going to take something sharp into play. Much like the head of Vecna.
Well, the funny part is we do have an episode coming up called Naughty Tentacles. That's the funny part. Yeah. Well, no, it's not like that, but, Will.
How can it not be like that?
Well, that's because Corey and I, we were, brainstorming one night coming up with, show topics, and he wanted to do a show basically, based around, the spell Evard's Black Tentacles.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course, me with my perverted mind, of course, I decided to name the show Naughty Tentacles. So, that whole thing. But anyway, yeah, we do have that show coming up, Scott. From what little that I know of Vecna, aside from the venerable artifacts that, Full On previously mentioned, and I
had junk.
Mm-hmm, yeah, I was trying to kind of skip over that. Aside from that, I don't know too much, and I was going to start reading the material once we were getting to that show. So just hang in there, and we'll do a full review to the best of our abilities. All right, moving right along to our next theme. Well, actually, I'll set up a voicemail.
This is all live, folks, not recorded. Well, actually, It is recorded, but...
Hey, guys, this is DM Scott, a long-time listener to the show, first time leaving a voicemail. Was calling in to see if I could get your opinions and thoughts on magic item creation. I've been DMing for a long time, and honestly, it's just never something that's come up with my groups, and I didn't know how you guys handle it. Are there certain spells that they need to cast in order to get magic items created or enchanted, rituals, ingredients, all sorts of things like that? So, I don't know, give me your thoughts and maybe walk through an example or two and tell me how it's done. So, keep up the great work. It's a great show. Love listening. Talk to you guys later.
Yes, and yes.
Thank you, Scott. Magic item creation.
Wow. Listen to that.
Yeah, well, that kind of warrants it, Magic item creation. I love magic item creation. I never make any myself, but I love seeing what comes out of people. Usually it's stuff I don't want to look at that comes out of people, but sometimes magic items come out of people. Yeah.
Well,
hey, even deers do it, okay? Anyway, magic items.
Yes, magic items.
Please go ahead.
Oh, well, as far as I've ever run it in a game, I've always said, well, you need to, if you're a mage, you need the enchant an item spell and permanency and all that other stuff. I mean, I've never had a game get that high in level under DMing anyway. I've never DM'd a game that high to where the mage player comes to me and says, I want to start creating magic items. There are several articles in Dragon Magazine. My God, I get the two mixed up. In Dragon Magazine, which kind of more or less give you some ideas as to how to adjudicate it. There are rules in the DMG to do so. But for like some of the more special magic items, like say, constructing like a Rod of Lordly Might, which has 4 different weapons and a bunch of spell abilities, you're going to need, a lot more than just, a very well-made, multi-purpose metal stick and, some spells. You're going to also need some, exotic materials. So, as far as that goes, that's an adventure in itself, or it can be done in the background.
It's funny you should mention this because in our Labyrinth Lord / basic D&D group right now, we have a mage that's kind of going through that. Not really a magic item, but he wants a familiar. DM has already told him you cannot do it in this town because you need so many gold piece gem gems or herbs or whatever, and you cannot find them in this town.
Right.
So, as the DM, he's going to make him go to the nearest large city to do this, and it's going to take weeks.
Yeah.
So, it's the same thing with magic item creation.
Except that takes months, sometimes even years, depending.
You can,
if you're lucky,
take quests to get out and go find the special things and parts. I mean, that's one of the whole points of many people's adventures, is to go gather the needed special what's-it that somebody needs to make something magical happen, whether it's the crafting and creation of a magical item or the crafting and creation of a magical spell. The Encyclopedia Magica has a little bit of guidance on that. The Dragon magazines have that. There's some very excellent stuff if you want to bootleg and reverse engineer from 3E on the whole concept of magic item creation, very well detailed. Also, your classic 1E and 2E Dungeon Masters guides have details on the whole mix and match of it. And again, at a minimum, you're going to need a enchanted item, you're going to need a permanency, and you're going to need something to the effect of the spells involved in whatever your effect is emulating. Now, that might involve creating new spells to get the effective choice.
Right.
And you can make the process harder or easier, depending on your opinion, depending on the quality of the materials you use in the first place.
Right.
And the special materials that you get involved with it. So that's going to involve a little bit of research to find, this, I could make a helmet that does this, a crown or a scepter or a circle or whatever, but if I made it out of this special metal, it does it easier because that metal is, historically attuned to this particular effect. If I include these specific gems, these gems are attributed to have these properties. That's why you want to look in your 1E Dungeon Master's Guide in the breakdown of the reputed properties of gems.
Right.
To find the right type of gems to apply to your magic items.
Right. And this goes to and this goes for like more mundane stuff too. For instance, when I did my audio drama about the lumpers, I had planned from the get, whether they're whatever medium they're in, they never have backpacks and stuff. They have hats and helms of holding. And I intimated in that audio drama how much it took Byron, the elf mage, in time and resources and money to make them. And, bags of holding and hats of holding are pretty mundane. So
Kinda,
even
sorta.
mundane stuff can take, you got to jump through a lot of hoops. That's what I'm saying.
No, I agree. And by no means should magic item creation be, as easy as going down to the market and buying a wheel of cheese. It's never.
You could go to the magic shop, but I mean, a lot of mages.
Somebody has to go supply the magic. Hence adventurers. Yep. Like the one item, I did have a campaign I've had several campaigns that involved magic item creation. The one that I was the DM for that involved magic item creation was Night Below. At one point, they decided they needed to make a helm of mind shielding, and they did that by one of the items they utilized was the head of the mind flayer they encountered that made them understand that they needed a helm of mind shielding.
Yep.
So they created a magic item involving, parts of critters, which always makes it interesting. And they, use the skull, head, and tentacles of an actual mind flayer that they had killed in battle to be one of the critical material components. The other thing you got to watch out for is, of course, if you're going to do magic item creation, the mundane stuff definitely is going to be minimum masterwork. You can't just grab Chet's broom from the closet. You've got to make it a masterwork item. Otherwise, the spells involved have to be that much higher in power and level just to enchant normal crap.
No, exactly.
Right.
I mean, there's even a little thing in the 1E DMG where they talk about even talking about the construction of just armor and weapons that with the varying various metal working and metal creating techniques that you could only make like +2 weapons and armor just from normal materials. You have to start going with exotic materials to get +3 and higher. Yeah. So, it's the same thing. You have to go out and try to find / harvest harvest those materials to be able to create what you're using, and that creates an adventure just on its own. Just going and talking to a legendary dwarven mastersmith who is one step from becoming a patron saint of one of the dwarven gods because his foraging techniques are so good.
What we're saying is that magic item creation should never be easy peasy.
Never.
But
ever.
The difficulty
depends. The consumable stuff, yes. Like, I'm going to make potions of healing. I'm going to make, scrolls. Disposable, one shot, burn it, do and done. Those should be easier than not, but still with effort.
Well, I'm talking about the stuff that, like, unique stuff.
Yeah.
Any cleric or mage can go, well, I want a potion, I want to make a potion of healing. So, okay, boom, 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 there it is. But what we're talking about is it's never going to be easy peasy, but the difficulty level is up to the DM.
Of course, that's the way it should always be.
You can make it a little hard. You can make it a lot hard. You can send them on a quest. You can just say next month they got it.
Right. Yeah,
and save yourself some effort, pain, and anguish, and allow the players to have input into just how hard they want it by determining how creative they're going to be in determining what is needed to make up their magic item that they're wanting to make.
Right.
So if they're the ones who are coming up with, hey, I found this and this and this, and these would be the things that I would want to use to make the special item, you can vet it and say, yay, nay, good idea, bad idea, awesome idea, or, okay, you can try that, and in your heart that that's not going to work, but let them waste the time and effort to try.
And gold.
Because you're the DM, and you can always say whether it succeeds or not, and it's all due to what fits into your campaign or not.
Absolutely.
The other thing to keep in mind is proficiencies and skill use, because for whether you're a cleric or a mage or anything else that throws spells, when it comes to making permanent magical items, the reason there are so few people who do them and who make them is that they really don't just go down to the local dwarven forge and say, I need 17 axes suitable for magical creation. These are things that people are supposed to be forging themselves. Who made Sauron's ring? Sauron did.
Yes, he did.
So you need to understand that some of these things that the end-all be-all of the idea is that to purify the item and make sure it is properly attuned to being a magical item, it's supposed to only be handled by the person crafting the magic in the first place.
That's right.
That means also needs to have some proficiency slots spent on sword forging, armor forging, ring forging, wand whittling, whatever it is you want to do to be able to craft the item physically yourself and make it of masterwork quality and have all the rest of the stuff in place to go through the process, enchant it, lose your constitution point permanently for casting permanency.
Well, yeah, I hand wave that personally. I've always done that. Yeah.
Again, another two things to remember.
Or bleed that off of someone else.
Another two things to remember. One, permanency only works in certain spells.
Yeah, it does.
So, if you're going to do something out of the ordinary, you got to find somebody who can do that. Secondly, if you're the kind of DM who says, oh, I don't like non-weapon proficiencies, I don't use them. Okay, fine, you don't use them. Again, they're going to find somebody who does.
Right.
Or you could settle it with a stat roll.
If you really want to bring it down to,
that would be something.
Well, you remember when you're creating stuff from a mere concept to created product, even in D&D, that requires, in especially second edition, that requires a lot of checks
Yeah.
It really does.
And you don't even have to necessarily say that failure means failure. Where do you think all the cursed items come from?
Yeah. Oh, jeez, that's right.
Muppet Labs tries to create a ring of invisibility.
And
Yeah.
All your clothes are invisible.
And there's things out there that may not be cursed, but they might not work the way they're supposed to.
Exactly.
Which makes it even more fun.
Yep.
Yes.
And that's why you have quirks.
And don't forget your tiers of magical item creation. Are you making a one-shot expended thing? Whether it's
something with charges.
Is it something with charges, or is it something with a permanent magical effect, or is it something with multiple permanent magical effects?
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it's easier to go the psionic route and just make an intelligent item.
Uh-oh.
Yes, that's the easy way.
If you're not one to use non-weapon proficiencies, you just like pile on the pluses and minuses and let them roll.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
wow.
Or let the NPC roll. Pluses for int and whatever dex, I don't know, whatever goes into it.
Yeah. When it comes to that kind of thing, as long as I'm present and watching his roll, I will let the player roll for his creation.
Right.
Because he's got so many steps to go from. He wants to create the He-Man sword, the Sword of Power, which I did way back in the day.
You didn't.
Yes, I did. Yeah, it was a +6. Yeah, it was a +6 sword.
One of my DMs wanted to make the Sword of Omens.
Mm-hmm.
And did.
Yeah, Sword of Omens is easier. We need to stat that. That's probably been statted out. What am I thinking? But anyway, what I'm just saying is just from creating the item to be enchanted, if you're doing it by your own hand, and you have the skills, of course, otherwise you're going to have to outsource it. But, going from that's a check. Because you go to the Dwarven Mastersmith I mentioned with a lump of adamantite, and you say, I want you to make a human-sized longsword out of this, and I want you to do the best job you can. After you wake up because he knocked you out because you insulted him because you said you wanted to do the best job you could.
And he hands you a giant Bane longsword of a 6'6" human because you said, I want a human-sized longsword.
Don't be so dang literal. Anyway.
Bring me another one. I'll try again.
Yeah. Go find another lump of adamantite out there. Yeah, I'll get right on that. Sure, I will. But yeah, I mean, you have to make a check to see that the sword is made, and then you have to start casting your enchant item spells and have your exotic materials ready. And it all comes down to, there is an article in Dragon that goes into depth now that I think about it, where it basically boils everything down, what the player does, how far he's willing to go to ensure his success and all that, boils it down to a 1 percentile roll. But there are tons of modifiers, positive and negative. So yeah, I mean, that's probably the best way to do it, just to give the player a fair chance at success. Of course, if you're just that kind of DM that just doesn't want him to succeed.
And in general, the longer they take, the better their chance. The more exotic the materials, the better their chance.
Mm-hmm.
The more gold they spend, the better their chance.
Agreed.
The more powerful spells they use, the better their chance.
But you gotta understand, Scott, it comes down to the DM. Always.
Yeah, in the end.
If he doesn't want it in his campaign, you're not getting it in his campaign.
Well, I would hope that before he even started the process, he'd have the DMs, sign off on it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, some CMs are sadistic enough to go, yeah, go ahead. Okay, here's the roll.
You play under one, Glenn. But
I don't know. He's pretty straightforward on that kind of stuff.
Yeah. You know what you're getting into from the moment you sit down.
Or are you talking about you?
No, I am not. I am not.
Why do you think he won't let me play a spellcaster?
Because we could go on about that. I'm just going to let that
anyway.
labor.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you for that email or voicemail. What else we got?
Okay, I've got another one.
By the way, if you want to join in on this fun, THACOshammer@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm. And our phone number is 405-806-0555.
Because the best part of the Gamer Nation is the Gamer Nation is participatory.
Yes,
you can be part of the show.
Yes. Yeah, you want our show to get better, participate.
Yes, when I get sober, I'm going to make the best show
that I can.
that I can't.
But I know how to make. But make sure to do it when you're sober. Yeah.
Oh no,
Okay.
It's more fun like this.
Oh, I bet it is.
Yeah.
All right, I've got an email here from Jeremy Prada.
Hi, Jeremy.
Okay.
Hey, Jeremy.
Regarding great question in Splat Book 72 about goes right along with what we're talking about. Making magical items that grow with a character's deeds. He says, I've done it once before, although I didn't really create any rules to go for how to unlock powers. More often than not, I had powers in mind and let them manifest to the player at a time when they would be needed based on when I felt it was in keeping with them getting a power upgrade. Usually because the other characters' weapons had powered up over the intervening levels. The game was an Istar area Dragonlance campaign. Wow. Where the PCs were playing essentially a terrorist cell attempting to hinder the King Priest and his plans. That's actually a nice campaign idea. I like that. The character with the item was a gladiator that had one of the more original backstories that I've seen, rewarding him with this item, which he didn't even know was magical for several levels. That's the best way to do it. During Istar's expansion, they wiped out or drove out many native species, including a species of jungle giants. Death by Snoo. Yeah, exactly. His character was the son of the giant tribe's chieftain and was the last tribe destroyed by the humans of Istar. With his dying breath, he swore vengeance against humanity. A wandering priest of Sarganas, god of vengeance and war, heard his plea and reincarnated him as a human, the better to fuel his rage, and taught him the ways of a priest of the god of war and vengeance. The character then crafted a wicked axe based on the caracal from Dark Sun. Yeah, that's a pretty nasty axe. From the bones of his own father before setting out for Istar, where he became a gladiator so he could legally kill humans. I like this idea so far.
You would.
See how that segues into the magic item creation thing.
Yeah.
He made the axe out of the bones of his father.
Yeah, that's awesome.
High up there in the, I'm going to use really interesting magic item components.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the bone. Remember, as a reincarnated human, see, he did this. So yeah, this character's got all kinds of, issues. Okay, to continue. Unbeknownst to the character or even the player at point, the caracal was imbued with the trapped soul of his father. And as such, new powers I granted were based on that premise. It is non-magical until its powers are activated, which must be done by having the blades covered in human blood. Once activated, it stays so until the blades clean of the blood. Yes, once this was figured out, it often led to him cutting himself with his own weapon before trying into battle. Great intimidation factor. Yeah, you think? Just doing that would, in certain circumstances, that I'd give up at. He don't give a crap about us. He's cutting himself up. Anyway, when activated, initially, this grew over time. It functioned as a +1 axe, +2 versus humans. Eventually, it also became +3 versus someone who has directly wronged the wielder. Additional powers it gained over the campaign. When fighting for the cause of the character's vengeance, he may fight until reaching -5 hit points before falling unconscious. When he finally does fall in battle, the others will see a ghostly apparition of a 12-foot-tall humanoid appear to float over the fallen priest, swinging the axe about in air at any that would dare harm the character in its current state, although the character himself never got to witness his power as he was always unconscious. Wow, that's pretty cool. As the axe continued to increase in power, it gained first empathy ability, then telepathy, which allowed him to commune directly with his deceased father. It also allowed his father to whisper mentally to push him towards more vengeance and violence. Anytime the character gave into this whispering,
for the testicles.
Yeah, no kidding.
You want this?
Don't you?
Use the force.
Give in to your anger.
Yes.
Only by unleashing your rage can you hope to defeat me.
Nice, wonderful Ian McDiarmid. Let's see. Anytime the character gave into this whispering, the pluses of the weapon would be temporarily raised. It also eventually gained a speak with dead ability, and another plan but not unlocked before the campaign had wrapped up was the ability.
Please tell me this campaign went to Ravenloft at least once.
It might as well have. Oh my God, he'd never get out. He'd lose his soul after 5 minutes. You kidding me? Let's see. Another ability that was planned but not unlocked was the ability to enlarge the wielder and the weapon to their original giant size once per week. So I guess what I'm saying is that you don't need any rules for this sort of thing. Just make sure the player gives you a good backstory for the item and then make the powers and abilities follow logically from there. I've seen rules in Dragon Magazine issues and the like for when to unlock powers or letting them spend experience points to do so, but I say, bah! He should have said humbug, but then again, he wrote this back in September.
To this I say nay!
Yeah, this is old school, just go with what feels right. If the player is starting to lag behind the others with their new +2 swords, then reward him for sticking with his story and not getting rid of his ancestral weapon and let him find a new power. Or at a dramatic moment, use it as a Deus Ex to pull the group away from the brink of a TPK.
Now that's a good magic item.
Yeah, that's actually really, really cool. I like that concept.
That's a cool magic item.
Mm-hmm. And see, I was going to do something like this in a campaign with my ex-roommate. She was running a paladin of Labilis Enerith, who was time and knowledge, and she was going to find a sword called, basically called the Crystal Blade or something like that, some cheesy name I came up with, and it was going to scale up according to her actions, and the further she went along, the sword would increase in powers with her, including the ability to affect time to some extent. Of course, that was going to be like way up in level, like around 13th, 14th, something like that. But yeah, I mean, I like that. That was really good.
I like. Let me say that it takes more bookkeeping on the part of the DM, but I do like scaling magic items.
Yep. Yeah. Me too. I mean,
in the long run, I think it's worth it.
No, I agree. It's just. You just have to, make sure to keep track of them because, yeah, they can make the game a whole lot easier for the players involved.
Right. Hence more bookkeeping. You got to track of,
exactly
what level they are and where it is and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And how
and send a lot of enemies out to get it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. See, that was the other thing about that weapon is that this was like one of the ultimate weapons against evil, so you were going to have, you were going to draw a lot of attention because you had evil beings and agents trying to destroy it, and then of course you had...
Or possess it.
Yeah, no, the good ones would try to possess it. The high-level paladins who think that they're the only ones who should wield the power of this sword and wield it correctly and for the right things instead of you piddling little paladinite, and things like that. The character is going to have all kinds of run-ins of all kinds. But, yeah, I mean, scaling magic items is a wonderful concept, but, yeah, you just have to make sure to not let it scale too quickly as opposed to your character's either actions or deeds or actual experience level.
Right.
And if worse comes to worse, just unleash the disenchanters on the party or the, archmage liches who decide to cast Dispel Magic on your items.
No, Mordenkainen's Disjunction.
That too. Or dual-wielding rods of disruption. Rods of disruption? Yeah.
Rods of negation.
Rods of negation.
Ow.
Yes. Yep. So yeah, that's a really, I like that idea, and that actually dovetails nicely into the voicemail we had.
What's that?
So, the one about magical item creation.
Right.
So
cool.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We got another voicemail.
Yes, we do, or I think we do. Hold on.
All right.
Okay. Oh, no, I can't use that one. I already answered that email. Sorry. That has to go. What's this? Yeah, we just did that. Okay. Well, how about that? We are all out of voicemails.
Well, then we'll do another email. How about that?
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Okay.
More emails. Go ahead. More emails.
Oh, my goodness. Wow, this is a long one. Okay. Okay, this one is from Sam.
Hi, Sam.
Gee,
What up, Sam?
Yeah, I should
Sam,
get a
you
glass
made the
of water
pants.
before I start this one.
Sam,
Okay.
you made the pants too long. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, it says, hi there, THACO's Hammer crew. Thank you so much for your awesome show and cheers from old Europe, Italy to be precise. Yes, you guys are listened to from all over the world. And by the way, sorry for my eventually bad English. It's not my mother tongue. Well, we don't want to say anything about your mother's tongue, Sam.
So we'll talk like this. Yes, okay.
Yeah, we need to do the thing. Anyway, so my first experience with D&D was a 1991 rule book, the one with the axe-wielding guy reluctantly facing a red dragon a schoolmate forgot in my house. I read that book countless times and still couldn't figure out exactly how the game was supposed to be played. I was very excited at the descriptions of all the monsters and treasure tables and such, but since my fantasy experience basically started and ended with games like Hero Quest, I was a little puzzled. Okay, I said, but where are the game board, the tokens, and all that? Funny thing is, if I'm not mistaken, that book came from a box set that actually had boards, tokens, cards, and stuff, but I only knew of the book. Then some years later in high school, my best friend of all time invited me to a D&D game where she was playing an elf. I showed up at the table and rolled my character 3d6 once, arranged to taste. Wow.
Right.
That's pretty brutal. Results: a fighter with an intelligence and wisdom around 5. Yeah, that my character was mostly ineffective and unlucky with the die rolls, and eventually he was fooled out of a rope bridge by some bad guys and almost died in the ensuing fight with a couple of crocodiles.
Ooh,
but I had a lot of fun, and most important of all, I figured out how to play D&D. That's the point. The group was about to switch to second edition by that time, so I grabbed my best friend's black-covered edition player's handbook and gave a look at that. I opened it randomly, and after reading the spell, well, maybe just after reading the name of that spell, I was like, I want to play that now! Unfortunately, since then, I had not much time to play or DM a game until almost 10 years later, when I was introduced to the game by a couple of friends who had gone about the who had gotten puzzled by the strange shape of that many face die on the desk. That does make people ask about it. Trust me, I used to carry my dice around in high school. A week after that, they were battling the Serpent Folk minions of the Yuan-Ti priestesses in some old cave. That was fun, but that was not AD&D. Yes, I must confess I chose 4E. It's okay. We understand, Sam. I chose it because I wanted to try it, and because I thought it would be a nice primer to the game for new players. Not to do any edition bashing, really. Indeed, I must say we enjoyed the game pretty enough. True, but I had to confess to them I had the feeling that we hadn't played true Dungeons and Dragons yet. Wow. They asked what did that mean. I started blah blah blahing about the comparatively less video gamey feel of old editions, but they were still puzzled. So I just Googled one simple little spell for their reading pleasure, and that spell in that random page from the player's handbook was Leomund's lamentable belaborment. Now, where is something like that in 4E? His words, not mine. And then I told them about wizards, their 4 hit points, no at-will laser guns for them, and the fearful saving throws and so on. And so they got even more curious, and I promised to give them a taste of good old second edition. And while wandering on the net to refresh my memories of it, I found your show. And around Splat Book 10 or so, I bought my black cover player's handbook in DMG.
There we go.
Yep. My old ones in Italian I'd given to a friend, never to see them again. And I promise I'll keep them safe until the end of the world this time. Okay.
First printing, second printing, right. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Anyway, I listened to a good part of your shows, and I'm trying to catch up with the latest ones, but in the meantime, I would be honored to submit some questions related to the game. I apologize in advance if any of them deals with a topic you have already fully discussed, and in that case, please just direct me to the right show.
He hasn't He hasn't asked the questions yet?
He's just getting to the
introduction.
Down.
Good introduction.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is the rest of our show. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, first of all, I've never been sure about pre-spell acquisition mechanics. Okay. I'm not dealing with daily memorization and acquisition of them. For the wizards, it seems plain enough. They have to copy them from scrolls and or spell books or mentors who can teach them new spells to be written in their spell books. But what about priests? It seems to me they have access to all spells per level. No, they don't. With the only limitation sphere requirements. So when a priest becomes able to cast second-level spells, she can memorize her daily number of second spells among all the second-level spells in sphere she has access to, while a wizard may become able to cast second-level spells but have none in his spell book and be forced to stick to first-level ones until he finds one. Yeah, that's the difference between priest and mage, right there.
That's basically it. And one of the things to remember for your mages, just to give them a little differential, they had it well covered in the Spells and Magic Combat and Tactics book about the creation of the spell book, your initial traveling spell book for a mage out in the world. Mm-hmm. They will have that second and third level spell in their book. They may not, be able to cast it yet, but it's there just to give them some of that meat. They won't have like, I had Magic Missile, I had Rite, and I had Grease, and wow, I haven't encountered any other magic anywhere to learn any new spells. Well, they get sent into the world with a primer in their possession often. It's just stuff they haven't learned yet. Yeah. And when they go up in level, you don't necessarily just random die roll. Your chance to learn this spell is boop, and you don't. Your chance to learn this spell is boop, and you don't. They're going to put spells in your spellbook that you're going to get to say, yeah, I can now cast, Fireball, because I got my access to third level spells, and there's a Fireball that's been sitting in my spellbook for a week and a half, and I haven't been able to use it, and I can use it now. Aside from the, ever popular in desperate times, you might be second level, or you might only cast second level spells, but hey, we really, really, really need that Fireball now. I've got one in my spellbook. I can read it like a scroll. It may blow up my entire spellbook doing it, but we won't all die.
Yeah.
I never bought that percentage chance to learn spell except under duress or if you find a scroll for it.
Now, or if you're trying to create your own spells, that's the other option. You can
I can understand that.
Learn your own way to cast spells.
If you have it in the book, you will eventually learn it. If you find it on a scroll, then that roll becomes pertinent.
Glenn, that's why when you're creating your mage character, you make sure that intelligence stat is as high as you can get it.
Well, of course, I do that anyway.
What it comes down to is, if you are a mage that has an 18 intelligence, every spell you run into have an 85% chance to learn it.
Right, but what I'm saying that 85% doesn't come into effect unless you're finding it like in a dungeon in a scroll or somebody hands you a scroll or something. Yeah. If it's already in your book, which it will be, then you can learn it.
Right.
When the time comes.
Right, yeah, but the whole thing, but in that is a chance for you somehow, some way to misunderstand one word or one symbol or one gesture or using this kind of spell component instead of that one, and you misunderstand it and you botch it.
Right, if it's not in your book already.
I'd go with Brian that even if it's in the book already, you can still screw that.
No.
But you can always get more spells.
I can't go with that. No, I'm sorry.
No, give them a bonus.
Well, if it's in your book, you know it.
The master put it in your book for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's
eventually you will learn it. But if you're exploring Joe Blow's dungeon and you open a chest and you find the scroll with Fireball on it, roll it.
Yeah.
Well, if your spellbook's got like Fireball and Ice Storm in it, and you're leveled up where you got access to your third level spells, and you say, I want to try to learn Fireball. Yeah. I want my Fireball to work now. Well, let's check. Boop, it didn't work, but you get the Ice Storm. You can try for the Fireball later when you get access to your next third-level spell availability. Mm-hmm. But in general, it's still going to be easier to learn the stuff in your book than it is the stuff you find in the wild. You can give a DM bonus, whatever you want to do for that. Again, different DMs will skew that a little bit differently. But for priests in general, the priest book is the priest book. Your prayer book is your prayer book. Your faith is your faith. Everything is at your beck and call up to your limit and within the bounds of your spheres that you have available.
Which I didn't learn until I started playing this basic which I started playing this basic game. It's like, I can have more than one bless if I have that magician. Sure. Go ahead.
You can learn multiples. Sure. Absolutely.
Now, how do you
remember that extra wisdom bonus about the bonus spells per level? If you have a high enough wisdom, that's how you can have a first level priest who can cast more than one spell a day.
Yeah, agreed. You could cast up to, depending on how high his wisdom, and you could have up to 3.
And in second level, where you have different spheres, you may be able to get that as a bonus spell right off the bat. You might, Rabbit, you might. But I think what he's saying is that he thinks that priests sort of study their spells like mages. No, they don't. Or at least now this comes to a different way I run clerics than most people. The whole you don't study a prayer book in order to get your spells. You sit there, you kneel, or you sit cross, or however it's supposed to be, and you pray to your God.
Whatever it is you do.
You drop on your knees and you pray.
Yeah, that's exactly what you do. Now, that's the standard way of doing it. What I do is that you pray for the ability to cast these spells up to whatever your level is.
And your God gives you a certain amount of, mana.
Yeah, for the most part.
To do these spells, but you want to use them for within the constraints of your faith, you do.
Yep.
Yeah. Now that's the big difference on mages and priests, and the two different ways to do priests. You can do priests with directed casting, where I'm going to pray for prayer today, and I'm going to pray for cure light wounds today, and I'm going to pray for, flame strike.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the standard,
and you never have a chance to use flame strike for the day, you're boned.
Yeah. Because that's the difference. Let's make that clear to people. That's the difference. If you do it directed casting, the spells that you have that you've prayed for are stuck in your head until you decide to use them.
But there's actually 3 lanes that you can do with this. You can go with straight up directed casting. What you prayed for is what you get. Hope you plan well. That's where it comes from the player's wisdom on top of the character's wisdom.
Yep.
That's 1. 2 is free casting, where you have mana power, you can cast 3rd level spells, whatever, however many a day you do, you do it.
And that's what I advocate.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Where you start with, I have a plan, I'm going to arbitrarily assume I'm going to be using these spells, and you pray for those specific spells, but you are not bound by them. You can pick a spell and free cast it as another option.
Right.
Usually that is the healing spells. Like, I'm going to pray for all the utility, useful spells of a priest. I'm not going to pray for cure light wounds, cure moderate, cure critical, any of that, because if I need a cure moderate, cure critical, whatever, I just take that X, Y, or Z spell that I had prayed for instead, cash it in as a coupon, exchange it for the spell in its appropriate level, and use it as that. So that lets the players own they have to have a plan, but they still are not handcuffed into, I'm nothing but a walking Band-Aid. I can't help you today. I got nothing but healing spells. Or, hey, I've got no healing spells, so you better not bleed. I'm more of an advocate of that last approach than either of the other two.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize free casting was available until I started playing Basic.
Yeah, that's a whole...
Because as far as I'm concerned, this may go contradiction to what you said full on, but as far as I'm concerned, all priests should do, okay, I am 5th level. I could do 3 first-level spells and 2 second-level spells. Any of them. I have the power to do it, but I can only do 3 of one and 2 of the other. That's it.
Right.
Okay. Just so we're clear on this.
Yeah, and see, I'm a big advocate of free casting, and I always will be. It just, and I've
now, if I
gotten
could get mage free casting, that would be even better. But that's a little bit more That's a little bit more complicated.
Nimgid.
Nimgid my ass. But anyway, Nimgid my ass.
Free casting mages. Oh God, I can only imagine.
I hate to say this,
they're called corruptors.
I hate to say this, folks, but this is where I advocate tunnels and trolls with the spell point system. Anyway,
of course.
Forget I said that. Anyway,
okay. Moving on to his next question.
Who is it? Yeah, his next question. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's got 2 more questions. So
keep them coming.
Yeah. All right. Can a missile attack benefit from both dexterity and strength bonuses to the attack roll?
Yes.
Hold on. Let me finish.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Patience. I always thought that strength attack bonuses were only used for melee, and the best you could do is add your strength damage modifier to a thrown weapon or composite bow. But the attack roll, let's see, pages one.
Okay.
Let's see. On the Player's Handbook seems to suggest that if you throw an axe, hammer, dagger, or missile weapon, you may add both. That seems to hold for composite longbows and short bows too. Okay. No.
Okay.
Now let's see. Attack rolls with thrown weapon attack rolls is your dexterity. Every thrown attack rolls, missile attacks with devices like bows and crossbows. That's all based off dexterity. Now, thrown weapons can get a damage bonus. Can get a damage bonus, and specially made bows made for strength can get a damage bonus, but no, they don't get the strength and dex bonuses to hit. Strength bonuses are only for melee.
Right.
That's how I do it.
Unless the bow in question is a strength bow.
Mm-hmm. Well,
which is specifically crafted to take advantage of the strength.
Right. I didn't know there was such a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. You can find mundane, non-magical strength bows. You can find magical strength bows. Yep. Usually strength bows are the better bows to take into using magical item creation for bows. But
well, I mean, in my game, I mean, if you have the cash to do it, you can commission you could commission someone full on to make a strength built longbow for your character.
Well, I know, but I'm 16. What?
Well, so
that extra +1 is.
I know it would be useful. It would be useful, and I have done it in the past with other characters and for other characters in my campaigns. They're useful, but yeah, generally you don't get to combine the to hit bonuses of both. You can cross over from I get a to hit bonus for Dex and I get a damage bonus for Strength.
Right.
If it is tied into that. Now, one of the other things on that bonus for Strength, they brought this out as a caveat to the rule, and I accept it unwillingly because I had a character that was one of the ones that loved to take advantage of it.
Where the 16th level dart specialist?
Well, whatever. The cap to your thrown weapon damage is the die of the weapon. Correct. So you might be wearing the Girdle of Storm Giant Strength for that plus 24 damage, but you're not going to get it when you throw a dagger, which is a D4. That means you're only going to get +4 no matter how hard you throw that dagger.
Correct.
Well,
that was great in the old days when you could do that because I was a ogre multi-dagger throwing 50 cal, 1d4 plus 24, 1d4 plus 24, 1d4 plus 24, 1d4 plus 24. Or you're going to cast a haste spell on me? I'm going to do 4 more of those. And I could drop a giant with daggers in, one machine gun burst of darts and daggers. But they won't let you do that anymore. It's specifically because of that. Yeah, and they encourage you to go with the die cap of the item. So if I'm going to throw a longsword, it's a D10. Right. I'm going to throw a greatsword, it's 3d6 is the cap. So no more than 18.
Right.
Well, soap my rope. Anyway, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that, let's put it this way, Glenn. Yeah. If you decide to come to me and say you're going to take longbow and then go to someone in the dwarven community and have them make you a strength bow based with dwarven heroes. Bow. Yeah.
Okay.
Go to the elves for a strength bow. Go to the dwarves for a strength crossbow.
Yeah.
Right.
Kidding.
I didn't know there was such a thing. That you've enlightened me full on. Thank you.
Okay, and now
that's what he's here for, right?
Exactly.
Strength sling would be really interesting.
Now, what is the last question he has?
Okay, and now I promise the last question.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, that's what he said.
Give us more. We like your questions. We want to hear more from you.
Yeah, doggone it.
For sure. Okay, while preparing for an upcoming adventure, I random rolled a ring of chameleon power to be put in a filthy bag amongst some garbage. Now, after reading the description of the ring, I'm not sure I understood how that's supposed to work. two things in particular. Do you have to stand still for it to work, or can the blending effect follow you around when you move? In that case, does it lag, or does it work instantly anytime the background changes?
Or are you a hobbit?
Yeah,
it
exactly.
works instantly. It's like having super camo.
Yeah. I would rather have it be as the first option, as in that case, its use would be much more subtle and thoughtful, but maybe I'm playing wrong. And what's the meaning of 90% invisibility? That means you are invisible 90% of the time. That even just someone walking by you is looking in your direction, they could see the little distortion, the little light distortion.
It is the predator. It is the predator lurking that you can see the predator, not even moving. Think of the predator.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a Romulan cloaking device.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where
exactly.
You get the little shimmer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I would love to see some guy stand in front of a urinal with one of those rings on.
Oh God, can you imagine that?
Yeah.
It doesn't quite look right, or even you can describe it any number of ways. It could be that predator or the Romulan cloaking device type shimmer. It could be there's just kind of some eyes there blinking at you. What?
Outline.
Okay. There's actually a person there, not just a wall.
I do the outline thing. Like, remember the old 60s Fantastic Four that Hanna-Barbera did where they do the Sue as the Invisible Woman where she was just like a white outline?
Yeah, that's so you could see her.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, she was invisible.
You may not notice it at first, but...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's one of those things where it's like you do the double take because your brain registers something that something there that you see, and that's like, wait a minute. Then you look back and
then by the time you look back, you're gone. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you've done it. You've stored your ribs. Mm-hmm. He said he looked through the DMG, but he doesn't seem to have found anything about different degrees of invisibility. That just means, Sam, that the invisibility of the chameleon ring is not perfect. It's not an actual invisibility spell. It's close. It's very close, but
it's very much like if you look in the light and illumination section of the DMG where it talks about levels of illumination and the effective invisibility that someone then has. If it's like only 80% illuminated, it's darkness, okay? Or 80% darkness. You have a chance to act as if you're invisible 80% of the time.
Right.
I remember us talking about a certain splat book that had a magic item where you could hide in shadows. That's what I'm thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
Where the shadow's already there and you hide there, nobody's going to see you.
Yeah, as long as you don't try to move from it while you're being seen.
Right.
While you're being observed.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of thing.
Let's see. I assume we're dealing with 90% concealment here, as in it seems reasonable to think that about 100% concealment. Yeah, that just means it's not perfect. But I would gladly
You answered your own question. You're correct, sir.
Yeah,
you are correct,
exactly. Exactly.
What do you need us for?
Hey, you asked us the question. Okay. Even if it helped him think it through and he came up with the right answer, we did our job.
Damn, we're good.
Yeah, aren't we? Even when we're not trying. But I would. How would you handle that ring in your games? Okay. All right. I'll kick it off. With a ring of chameleon power, that basically means that you absorb. Basically, you're part of the background. Of course, with 90% invisibility ring, it's not going to be perfect. Just like it's the same thing with a cloak of elven kind. They're under differing circumstances, the effectiveness of the cloak can be up to 100% or it can be low as 50. It just all depends on the situation. It's more situational. With the Ring of Chameleon power, it's a straight flat 90%, which means that 90% of the time, no one's going to know that you're there. But every once in a while, it just might be, it may not have taken a perfect, outline of the background you're in or whatever, or it just might be that the person's looking at you just might be just a little bit more perceptive than the average person. So he might just say, hey, wait a minute. I see that doesn't look right. I'm going to go investigate it. And that kind
there's
of
a little bit more to that as well, in fact, because I'm looking on, let's see, Encyclopedia Magica, Volume 3, page number 952 has this to say.
Go ahead.
Also found in Dungeon Master Guide First Edition. Whenever the wearer of the ring desires, he or she is able to blend with the surroundings. This enables 90% invisibility in foliage, against walls, and so forth. If the wearer is associating with creatures of intelligence 4 or greater, at a distance of 60 feet or less, the ring enables the wearer to seem to be one of those creatures. But each turn of such association carries a 5% cumulative chance that the creature will detect the ring wearer for what him or she is. Thus, such an association can never persist for more than 20 turns without the wearer being detected. At the end of that time, the chance of detection has risen to 100%. Creatures with 16 or greater intelligence use their intelligence score as an addition to the base chance of detection. For example, a creature of intelligence 16 would have a base chance of 16 plus 5% equals 21% at the end of turn 1, 26% at the end of turn 2, and so forth. Creatures with 3 or lower intelligence instinctively and automatically detect the wearer if they come within 10 feet.
Yeah.
Which makes it even more interesting.
Oh, absolutely.
This is how you can, like, blend in with a pack of running orcs. You can run along and merge in with their formation and peace out before they figure out you were among them.
Yeah. Yeah,
Exactly.
you can try.
But I wouldn't want to try that with a charging pack of drow.
No.
Or a Tarrasque.
Absolutely not.
Anyway.
Yeah, absolutely, or a Tarrasque. So, I mean, it all comes down to perception, but yeah, when all else fails, because most of the magic items got a little bit of editing to wipe out the majority of gray areas that some of them have. Yeah, consult the Encyclopedia Magica. It basically explains,
absolutely.
Yeah, explains it in detail, and it gives you circumstances to draw your own conclusions from.
That's right. If you don't have Encyclopedia Magica, nah. Anyway, sorry about
Glen,
that.
Glen,
Yes.
by the way,
Yes.
remember when in the last Splat book you were talking about how you wanted Skullport?
Yes.
I found it for $18.
Good for you, but Corey's going to be sending it to me.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
But that's all right.
I'll keep it for myself.
I already sent him minis, so he do me Skullport. But thank you. Who was that again?
That was Sam, aka DM Pipes.
Thank you, Sam DM Pipes. I think we're good for one more.
Are we? Okay.
Yeah,
let me throw this in the archive real quick and let me pick one out. Okay.
Right. People, we're gonna give you a bonus here.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Okay. Got another one from Angelo.
Angelo! Hey, how you doing?
How you doing, Goomba? All right, let me stop that.
Man, let's talk about role play here, eh? I feel like going to the Mushroom Kingdom right now and jumping down a pipe, Go ahead.
You're too big to be Mario. You'd have to be Luigi. Anyway. Okay, he says, DM Angelo here. Currently, I DM an ongoing sandbox-style weekly game set in a mishmash Greyhawk Forgotten Realms world. Wow.
How you doing?
That's fairly ambitious.
Yeah, that's going to be like schizophrenic.
Yeah, just a touch, you think?
What?
Going between Gygax's style and going with Greenwood style? Yikes.
I told you, that's doable.
I know it's doable. I just give it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hey, there's precedence for that. Pages from the Mages, yo.
All right. I'll take your word for it.
Okay, go.
To continue, the same group has been gaming together for several years now. I use a hybrid 1E, 2E system full of house rules that I've discovered and perfected.
What are you, crazy? Anyway, go ahead.
Hey.
Go ahead.
Over years of running D&D games. And Brian, yes, I use critical hits and misses tables.
I like this guy already.
That's me applauding. Bravo. All right, he says...
Because Full-On likes him, or what?
No, he likes the fact that he's done a mismatch of Greyhawk and Forgotten Realms and a 1E, 2E system and using good hits.
This guy's he's popped his cherry. He's almost a made man. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so he's almost a made man. Yeah, no kidding, right? All right, he says, since our group is large, 7 to 8 players per session, combat... Yeah, that's actually fun. Yeah, combat can be slow, long, and drawn out at times, especially in the early rounds. Question 1. Have you ever experienced this, and what have you done to speed up combat?
TPKs, that does it every time.
Start talking like an auctioneer. Boom, boom, boom. Get quick, get fast, get hurried, get into their faces, and don't let someone sit there waiting for their turn to roll around to start paging through pages to determine what they're actually going to maybe be. What exactly is the number of damage that I can do with a composite longbow versus my halberd? I'm going to maneuver and use my magic item instead. Can I borrow the DMG to see what my ring can do? No, those guys you need to purge of that effort and get them to start getting knowledgeable of their character and snappy.
Yep.
You can, coming back to you, if you don't have a decision, I'm going to the next person in initiative order, and you just move down to pass them, or when you finally pipe up with your thing, and that'll be your new initiative for the remainder of the combat.
I've been inspired by the great Mike Pondsmith of the Artels Orient, who ran my first con with him, a 26-player Teenagers from Outer Space game. What do you do? 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 Okay, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this, this. Let's go on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, with me, you guys have seen it in Hammers of the Duchy. I'm like, okay, initiative numbers, give me your numbers, and we will go from there. If you can't think of what you're going to do, if you can't think of what you're going to do from the time you roll your initiative number until the time your turn comes up, you got a problem, son.
And with 7 or 8 people, you got plenty of time to decide that.
Yeah, exactly. Combat itself. It's like initiative.
People? What we've got 4 people?
Yeah, 4 people.
Yeah, that's what you do with that.
I've heard things like they keep encouraging people to roll damage dice and to hit dice at the same time.
No.
I cannot
absolutely
conscience justify that, because what if it's a crit? What if it's a fumble? Because we use crits and fumbles. If you have multiple attacks in a round and I used to, if you had 2-3 attacks around, I didn't do the staged initiative weapon speed factor thing. You had 2 attacks, you got your 2 attacks, roll 2 dice. But I would make you roll them one after the other, because if you rolled a 1 first, you don't get your subsequent attacks later.
I mean,
at least fumble last, not first.
You and I both have like two attacks every other round? Something like that?
Yeah, 3.
Yeah, and that sort of falls apart when you try to roll hits of damage at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the whole thing. To me, I've never understood why players do that. I think it's just one of these passive aggressive type of things. It's not like you're making things easy for me. It's like, no, you roll your dice. Let's see what the result is. Is it a hit? Is it a miss? Is it a possible fumble? Is it a possible critical? There are 4 different.
Don't tell me in my basic game, we got a player who does that. Don't tell me you're not going to be disappointed if you roll a 1 and max damage.
Yeah, because he is.
Yeah.
Although
save your mojo for your dice. Roll 1 set at a time.
Absolutely. Right. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Okay. Question number 2.
Yeah.
Initiative. How do you handle initiative for large groups? Any ideas are greatly appreciated.
Well,
hold it. Let me.
Yeah, go ahead.
My method of initiative is I first go around the table and ask, what are you doing? Then once that is determined, then the players individually roll initiative. D10, weapon speed, or spell casting time. Lowest goes first. That's how I do it.
The way we've done it in the basic game when we were playing RC was individual initiative. What was group initiative? Right. Either side.
Individual action.
We started doing BX/Labyrinth Lord. We went individual initiative for the players, group initiative for the monsters.
Yep, that's how I do it.
I do that as well, but I don't go with the give me your action first and then roll your initiative, because that doesn't let players have the flexibility to determine what it is they're actually going to do. I've encountered that kneecapping the party far too many times, where somebody had an initiative order first that needed to do something. Somebody had an initiative order that needed to have somebody else do something first.
Yep.
And they couldn't do it until after that person finally got out of the way, and it can end up crippling and killing the party.
Yeah,
I want people to have that flexibility of, hey, I'm early initiative. I need to do something quick and useful to everybody else and set the stage for other people to take advantage of. And then they can say, hey, he was successful at taking advantage of that situation or setting me up so I can now do this. And they work more effectively as a team that way.
Yeah,
instead of having all be mind readers and friggin' future readers to understand that he will actually be in this square and out of my way, and I'll be able to cast that lightning bolt in line fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people just run up front, but that also is what you deal with when you change your plans.
See, this is the problem I'm having with Tunnels and Trolls, because I come from D&D, where people say, initiative, what are you going to do? Roll it, blah, 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 right? Well, Tunnels and Trolls, okay, for those of you who don't know out there, quick rundown. The player rolls his damage, the monster rolls his damage, or in the case of parties, the party rolls their damage, there's a bunch of goblins, they roll their damage. You compare them. The higher number wins, and the difference is the damage.
Yeah.
The problem with that is it does not allow for individual actions.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is something I've been trying to educate, because I think that is needed in that game.
I totally agree.
Because there are players who are going to go, but I want to backstab him, but I want to charge the ogre, but I want to do something fancy.
Yeah, they
automatically take damage from the kobold because there's 17 of them.
Right.
You know?
What
if they all miss?
Right. How do you educate that in a game like that?
Yeah, see, I can see why that would be a problem. Yeah, because
because players want that. They want to be able to say, "I backstabbed the guy."
Yeah, especially those who cut their teeth playing D&D.
Right.
That's especially I would say probably.
I'm sure there's a way to do it in that game, but I haven't figured it out yet. But that's one thing that D&D has over that game. That's what I'm saying. Right.
No, I get it, and I think it was done that way just to sort of mitigate combat, to make it fast,
make it easier for the GM.
Right. Instead of the
and
game.
I appreciate that. Believe me, as a GM, I appreciate that.
Yeah, it also turns into a more video gamey approach at that, because then the party is going to start metagaming and ensuring that their weapon dice are always going to be that higher die potential.
It's all D6, but they'll have more of them.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some give and take, because ranged weapons and magic, you got to make a save first. If you don't make the save, you don't add your dice.
Right.
So there's a little give and take, but at the same time, that's just saying it didn't work.
Yeah, you flubbed your spell or you missed your shot. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Right.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a little frustrating.
Yeah, but at the same time, that's one thing that D&D has over that game.
Right.
That's a big plus right there.
Yeah, and to be honest, because D&D started from a war game, that aspect of it appeals to most, because the players want to be able to, even if they're leaving it up to pure chance, a flip of a coin, what have you, a 5% chance, what have you, that they're the one rolling the dice in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
They want to have that feeling of control.
You cannot take away player. I can't think of the
Guardian input.
word. Yeah, the player input. The player. I can't think of the word.
Individuality.
Anyway. Yeah, individuality.
Contribution.
Exactly. Contribution. Okay, that's good.
But for initiative, I've done several different versions, and it really depends on the gameplay style that you're dealing with, and again, the game size. And some work better for larger sizes, some don't, and it depends on the level of detail you need in your combat. You can go with group initiative, you can go with individual initiative, you can go with I'm going to do movement then combat, or combat then movement, or at least I like how more initiative options came into play where you could choose I want to move then fight, or fight then move, instead of I can only stand in place or I can only move, and it wastes people's effort.
Or I want to
give people the option to do more was better.
Right. Yeah. Or I want to move after this guy moves.
Right.
Or I want to move, fire, or attack and move again.
Yeah. Or just stand there and wait for him to come to you.
Right.
Yeah.
There are ways to swing that in there. More of them came out in Combat and Tactics, and then they got codified into 3E. But for initiative updates, those are directions that you can look for more ways to handle your initiative other than just what's straight up in the book, and see what's going to work best and suit best your gameplay style and your game group size.
Agreed. I mean, individual initiative for the players, it seems to me, that works best because this way I can focus for a couple of seconds on the particular player whose initiative number is up. I found that when you run a party group initiative, everyone wants to do everything at once. And it doesn't work that way.
And one of the other options you have in there is between individual and group initiative, you have one more option, which is static initiative, which has its pros and its cons.
Yes, it does.
You can go individual or group, and the initiative is the initiative, and that's what it is for the whole fight.
For the whole fight,
Right.
Unless one does something specifically to jump ahead in the order, fall behind in the order, or has something shift their place in the order by choosing to act at a different time.
Yeah,
Right.
Which is another option, which saves some of the extra die rolling. And, so only so many people can refocus and choose to go first in the next round every single time until you just roll over the freaking initiative order. But generally, you can get good results with that if everybody rolls their initiative, that's their initiative for the fight, and that's the sequence of the events. That's the sequence of the events. It rolls smooth, but people want to have that chance of, I go first now. They want to be able to change things up, or I need to hold my action until somebody else goes. Well, that shifts you in the initiative order, and now you're going to operate from behind that. From now on, it just takes injecting a little bit of extra effort in there to refocus and go earlier again, or choose to go later.
Yeah, I mean, I've played 3rd edition, and I've had fun with it, but to be honest, that was the one complaint I had as far as combat went, is that, with static initiative, that can actually work for you, but it has at least as much of a chance to work against you. And... and that's the only thing I didn't particularly care for. I mean, and to me, individual initiative and of course initiative numbers for groups of monsters and things like that. To me represents the ever chaotic shifting tides of battle. I mean, come on, Salon, you're a soldier. You know about this better than any of us could.
I'm a big fan of the more chaos that can be injected, the better. I prefer individual initiative every round.
Yeah, that's funny because that was the original intent of Tunnels and Trolls for the chaos of battle. They said basically it was like a big, how you get in the comics, a big like cloud of just fists and stuff like that.
Exactly,
that kind of thing.
They to the scrum.
Yeah, they decided to Tom and Jerry it. That's basically what that is.
Or Popeye.
Everybody draws their weapons, walks off screen, and the camera starts shaking, and bits and pieces of people start flying. And
you see fists, you see swords, you see kicks, you see, that kind of thing. It's chaotic.
Yeah. Yeah, but the only problem is that they codified that down to just a comparative roll.
Right.
That's the only problem. I think
right.
Yeah, I think they went.
D&D technically has the same problem because you're going initiative, it is this, that, the other thing, that kind of thing.
So I mean, but as far as this question goes, I mean, the way he does it is exactly how I do it.
Right.
D10, weapon speed, casting time, lowest numbers go first.
Right.
And, I haven't had any complaints about it. Everybody seems, I mean, aside from the fact that, a couple of players use, high speed factor, high damage weapon, high damage weapons. Aside from that, I don't get any complaints about it.
By the by, did you know I found this out in our current basic game? That even in the RC, in basic, I didn't know this. This is just two-handed weapons always go last.
Yes.
We hadn't been playing.
And I disagree with that for many, many reasons. I'm more happy with combat tactics as its inputs into that type of thing.
Right. But I
also like my additional house rules for things like that because I like to include, you can use your strength modifier or your dex modifier, depending on whichever one you work with, as a thing to improve your initiative speed, especially if you're muscling around that greatsword or swishy poking with the whatever.
Right. And see, I've played in games where they do that, where they take the reaction bonus out of your dex and you're able to add it to your initiative to lower the number. So you go faster. But, to me to
start Legoloosing.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just like, no, that sort of puts a little too much, just a little too much in favor of the players. Because,
I let critters do that too.
Well, some do, I agree. Yeah, you see, but it's just one of those things I just don't deal with. When I'm asked about, I'm like, no, I don't use it for that. It's only for your chances to be surprised, and that's it.
Right. Anyway, who was that again?
That was Angelo.
Thank you, Angelo. We always like your emails.
Yeah, we
so
like
always send them in.
Yeah, look at the gagoozies on this kid.
Yeah. Yeah,
All right, let me stop.
Avenue, I just got over. Anyway, that should pretty much close the splat book right there.
Yep. Email part, yeah.
Pretty much. So, more emails, deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, say goodbye, Brian.
Until next time, folks, if you're going to be using that two-handed sword, learn two-handed style. It helps a lot. It really does.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Gamer Nation, welcome to the Double Seven Show. We hope you were your third sevens. You got a triple seven out of it, and this is the lucky show for you. Hope the information that we put out was useful, and thank you all for your contributions again.
Yeah, and keep them coming, by all means.
Double Seven Show, since I'm bringing 7 and Coke. Okay, well, it's time for me, DM Glenn, to say I'll catch you next time when the hammer comes down on THACO's Hammer. Bye-bye. I didn't, we hadn't been playing with the, two-handed weapons go last until we got the Labyrinth Horde. It's weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's one of the major drawbacks to that game. It always has been.
Really?
Yeah.
THACO's Hammer theme is provided by the Diablo Swing Orchestra. You'll find them on Jamendo.com. All other additional music for this episode was provided by Kevin MacLeod. You'll find more of his music on Incompetech.com. Be sure to visit our website at THACOsHammer.info. If you have any questions or comments, email us at THACOsHammer@gmail.com. Remember, that's an O, not a 0. You can also find us on the second edition forums at osrgaming.org and at purpleworm.org. Or give us a call and leave us a voicemail at 405-806-0555. See you next time when the hammer comes down on THACO's Hammer.